It's the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would begin by wishing everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day. Whether you're Irish or not, we tend to like to celebrate, and we've got a lot of folks here in Waseca County that have landed here from that beautiful Green Island, and so we want to make sure we honor that part of the heritage. You can see some folks up here are celebrating stronger than others. We would next go into public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? Public comment? Third time public comment. Anybody online raising their hand?
No, that's raising their hand.
All right, then we would close public comment and we would go on to approval of agenda. And I think we've got some massaging here a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Carrie Aberson is with us, Nelson Peterson. Thanks for being with us, Carrie. One thing I wanted to bring to the board's attention for consideration is a willingness to add an item under action to just simply recognize staff's intent of proffering a letter of intent to Wells Concrete. And this is a result of the ongoing Justice Center Conversation project. And it is a result of where the concrete industry is as a whole right now. It recently, and Carrie, of course, you can jump in if I veer strongly off course, but it has recently jumped from about a 6-month to a 10-month construction timeframe and window for the industry as a whole. And as part of that bid packaging process, is some really bid packaging, but putting together those design development plans and getting to construction document finishing. It was discovered that all 3 of the individual concrete producers that responded to that request of estimation were requiring the same thing, which is simply to hold a place in the production schedule. So at this point in time, the letter of intent is not resulting in a check being cut. It is not resulting in monies being paid. They're not placing any earnest money or down payment as a result of this letter of intent, but it gives some good feeling to the producer that the county is acting in good faith and moving forward in anticipation of this project. So that was a lot of introduction, I know, but that is ultimately why staff would request an item to be added in that first action items as the new A.
Anything else?
One more thing.
Yeah,
thank you.
Please.
I wanted to address the current item A that is there, as this was tabled from a month ago. We subsequently then had a work session to talk about parks planning at the, what would have been March 3rd. I think I'm doing the math right there. March 3rd meeting. Mr. Tomford walked through that and gave a broader perspective of what's going to be happening or assumed to be happening in our park system over the next 5-year window. This has been an ongoing conversation with this DNR outdoor recreation grant. We know that the submission deadline is the end of the month, so we wanted to punt at that point in February to get some additional commentary from the DNR before coming back and making a request to the board. The uniqueness of this situation now is that staff request is that no action be taken on this grant itself because of the additional commentary that came back from the DNR. The cost that was a result of what they would require, even for award, is subsequently higher than the benefit would be in getting the award itself. And primarily that is a result of ADA accessible pathways that would be required to connect to the disc golf course from the parking lot, which would be very cost prohibitive compared to what the implied benefit would be should the grant even be awarded. So it is there as a result of it being tabled. We're compelled to put it back to the agenda. But it is a unique situation in which I would request that the board take no action on it. That is the staff's recommendation, I should say. I think that's
Okay. Anything else on our agenda?
I hope not.
Okay. Then we'll check with everybody else. Commissioner Milburn, any changes to the agenda
No,
that haven't already been mentioned?
no, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Christopherson?
No, so we're putting that letter of intent at the top of the action item.
We are. Yeah. Carrie is here to provide commentary for us and then we want to be able to get her on the board. So if everybody would indulge me. Perfect. I will. Commissioner Target
No, Chair.
and County Attorney. All right. Thank you. Sheriff, anything for us? All right. Then right now we would be looking for approval of the agenda as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second by
Miller.
Crosby.
Thank you, Commissioner Krause. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Then I'm going to insert something here before we go on to the minutes. Our county engineer is here with some folks and we want him to be able to speak and we want to be able to celebrate with our highway department.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Today I have Josh and Andrew from our engineering department and some hardware, probably tucked away a little bit, but every year MnDOT and the Concrete Paving Association of Minnesota solicit for concrete pavement projects throughout the state for awards. And December of last year, we submitted our County Road 3 pavement rehabilitation project from Waldorf up to County Road 9 as a candidate. Some of the required fields within that application, are innovation and sustainability, managing traffic and safety, public relations, as well as construction and cost and materials, and anything that goes along with that. MnDOT and County Paving Association awarded Waseca County and our prime contractor PCI Roads that award for the a merit award for outstanding performance for concrete pavement rehabilitation project. So we were up at the CPAM Awards Workshop last Thursday and Friday to take some pictures and collect our awards and celebrate with our contractor as well. They did an excellent job. Just a few highlights of that project. It was originally paved in 1991, so it's a concrete pavement that we were looking to extend the service life of that road. PCI Roads, as mentioned, was our prime contractor. It was originally a $3.7 million project that we finalized out, I think, in November, December at 3.5 million, so a little under original contract price. Work began last April, and we opened it to traffic in August with final completion in mid-September. Various rehab strategies were applied to the project, double bar retrofit to kind of address our faulting, partial and full depth repairs, complete pavement replacement, and then of course our concrete grinding for that smooth finish and joint resealing. And then also we addressed that dip, infamous dip out there with our lightweight fill. We used shredded tires as a lightweight material there to address that. Interesting thing about that, I guess, we included multiple waiting periods and a fire safety plan just to ensure that the tire shreds did not combust. Staff, again, deserving of the award and recognition today. Andrew and Josh logged over 1,350 hours into that project. Initially started probably in late 2022 with some geotech work on that dip, and many evenings and weekends out there during construction. Initiate and inception through completion. These guys were out surveying the road for horizontal and vertical control and to be able to prepare plans and earth quantities. I don't know how many times they walked the road, mapping the distresses that we're going to be fixing, as well as everything else out there is roadside signage and our pavement markings, the culverts that need to be relayed, to determining pavement thicknesses and reviewing our old plans, and then again preparing our construction plans in CAD. And then again, like as mentioned, out there with our contractor every day, following them around, ensuring the repairs are being made in accordance with specs and quantifying them so we could pay them properly. Staking all of the work to be done, sampling and testing all the concrete work out there, and then of course documenting it. So again, just want to recognize these two guys for all the work they put in and the award that we won. And also we had a great contractor, so everybody was very deserving.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Waseca County staff. Anytime we do a big project like that, it is always, there's always disruptions in traffic and, you know, this, that, and the other thing. But we're always proud of the work that gets done and the final product that is so thoughtfully done. And we only get to see like the beginning part when things aren't right and the end part where, oh, it's finally fixed. And we don't often get to celebrate all the hard work that happens in between there to make it be something really great. Thanks for making sure that folks can get from the south end to the north end more safely and more smoothly in particular than ever before. We appreciate it. And congratulations on being recognized by the industry. Well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you.
We better get a picture for sure. Yeah, we're gonna take a little time and take a picture.
Those three.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Those three.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh.
That's it.
Let's see. I think we have what you're right here, as long as we cover up the podium more. No, we gotta get you over here, the light from that. I want you to be as pretty as possible, guys.
Might have to insert somebody else.
No. Are you done? Go ahead.
Ready? Mine, you'll know when mine goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much for all your
Thank you.
work. Thank you, thank you.
That's the front page.
Yeah.
Right there. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you.
Jim, I can testify that these gentlemen worked hard out there because there were many days that I was calling and watching us walk. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Fortitude was a great subcontractor.
Because county government deals with a lot of problems, like we're the global problem solvers quite often, it is a joy to be able to celebrate some publicly recognized things. All right, we're going to move on to our agenda here. And next on our agenda is approval of the county board minutes from March 3rd. Those are in our packet. And I would look for corrections and or a motion to accept them as presented.
Approval. Second word.
Motion by Christopherson, second by Hargit. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Consent agenda just has the approval of the bills, and those two are in our packet. Unless there's questions, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make that motion.
Second by Krause.
Motion by Commissioner Milbreth, second by Commissioner Krause. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. There we go. Next, on to action items. And recently inserted, our first action item will be the staff's intent to offer a letter of intent for our concrete panels.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I overplayed you can come up here if you want to, feel free. Overplayed my hand already, and then in the introduction, he asked to add the subject matter expert is here as well too. I can pull up for you the letter that Gary did send to us as a result. And that just kind of touches on the individuals that responded. You want to add anything to that, Gary?
We had talked about this when we were here 2 weeks ago, kind of laid that groundwork. Myself and Eric, my coworker, we had an opportunity to follow up with the individual production companies that are listed there, the ones that we got the numbers from during our estimating process. And we were able to confirm and clarify some of the questions that we had. Based on those conversations and really kind of the proximity of Wells Concrete to the project. I mean, their plan would be to produce these panels in their Wells plant. And so with the under the intent of removing, greenhouse gases and carbon emissions and things like that in the transportation of these panels, and also Wells's participation in helping us all the way up until this point, we are recommending to issue that letter of intent. This production slot, this will hold the production slot so that we can maintain the proposed construction schedule of getting precast to the job site late December or early January. And I have just as of this morning had a conversation with one of our estimators in the office, and we have another project that's in the exact same position as this one is in issuing that letter of intent to a supplier to hold that production slot. All of a sudden, within the last couple of months, these plants are crazy busy, primarily with data centers. And so this is an across, we had another estimator call every single precaster in the 5-state area, and they're all exactly in the same position. So this is not unique suddenly to where we're at in the industry. And so this, in order to maintain that schedule, that is why we're here to make that recommendation for that letter of intent.
Excellent.
Yeah, Madam Chair, the only thing I'd add to that is just softening the language that's on here in terms of award. We aren't awarding anything specifically in this instance. The 1.78 million is a real dollar amount that Wells Concrete returned in terms of the estimate itself. But as you see in the scope of work here, letter of intent will be followed by the subcontract, ultimately culminating in bid package 1, which you are going to then see. So we're not writing a check for $1.7 million with a letter of intent. We're not writing a check for anything. This is the next step forward to hold that production slot, as Carrie mentioned, to get us to bid package 1.
Excellent. We don't have a resolution for this. We have instruction to staff to put together the letter of intent, get it ready for Wells Concrete. We want to stay on schedule. We've got a lot invested here of time and energy, and we want to make sure that we're doing the details so that we can keep moving ahead on schedule. So I would look for a motion in a second, and we will have some board action to direct staff to offer this letter of intent according to the will of the board.
Do we need a number for the resolution?
We do not have a resolution.
I'll make that motion and we move forward.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Milgreth, second by Commissioner Christopherson. Any further discussion or questions for either Carrie or Michael?
Go. Is there any, this has gotten so busy so quickly, or this shift from a 6-month to a 10-month. We don't know how well any one of these are going to be able to hold to that schedule, I suppose. I mean, we can get put in line, but it still comes down to production.
Once this letter of intent is issued, they lock our production slot.
Okay, so that is pretty well set. We're gonna have these days of.
That's exactly. And they're tentatively holding production slots for us right now. But once they receive this letter of intent, that locks in.
Okay.
And everything will back up from there as far as the drawings and samples and things like that we talked about 2 weeks ago. But this will lock it in.
We don't want to get to the time where we're ready to put up walls and not have walls. Any other questions or comments?
Just that Michael will send that cover test to review before we send it out.
Oh, the letter, yes,
The letter.
of course.
That's all I know. Thanks.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for helping this process happen as well. All right, with no other questions or comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Let's move this thing along.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie, so much for being here today, and safe travels.
Thanks.
Thanks. Off to this one. All right. Next on our list is resolution 2026-09 for the DNR Outdoor Recreation Grant. Michael has already teed this up. And I think what I can do from here is just ask what the will of the board is. We have a staff recommendation that we not proceed with this resolution. Based on feedback from the DNR that would have required much more construction than we originally had planned. And a much bigger cost than we were originally looking at. And it doesn't mean we're gonna quit looking at what we can do out there, but the requirements for this DNR grant are proving fiscally onerous for us. So if anybody's got any questions, Michael or Brian would be better suited for them. Otherwise, I would ask the will of the board. And I look for motion. If there is none, I'm going to ask 3 times. Is there a motion? Is there a motion? Resolution dies for lack of motion.
Thank you.
All right. Then let's go on to contract 812603, Passat 3 shoulder paving.
Morning again. As promised 2 weeks ago, I think these are all odd numbered contracts. 3 of yours to consider today. The first one is County Road 3, BC Legion Lake Road. This is approximately 6.7 mile long corridor that carries upwards of 2,000 vehicles per day. It ranks very high in our county road safety plan for road departure and head-on crash priority. And as a result of that, we applied for a federal highway safety improvement program grant way back in 2022 to implement some safety strategies on that road, such as shoulder paving and shoulder rumbles and the ground-in wet reflective pavement markings. And the county was awarded up to $750,000 in federal safety funds for that project to be constructed this season. So since that award, we've been working to get through the federal requirements and state requirements to bid this project, which was authorized to advance to letting in January. And we advertised it in accordance with law and opened bids on March 5th. We did receive 3 bids, and Crane Creek Asphalt did the low responsive bid of $1,081,561.40. 15% under the engineer's estimate of $1.27 million. HSIP funds can be used for 90% of federally eligible work, and soft construction dollars are planned for the remainder of that work. That staff recommend award of contract A12603 to Crane Creek Asphalt.
I would look for motion and second.
So
And
moved.
any discussion? Thank you, Commissioner Harkett.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Christopherson. Questions or comments for Jim? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. On to contract 812605.
This one is very similar to the Passat 3 project, but on Old Highway 14. So this would provide shoulder paving, shoulder rumbles, and from wet reflective pavement markings on Old Highway 14 from the west interchange with Newbie 14 all the way to the western limits of the city of Waseca, excepting of course city of Janesville, which is already urban design. Again, we applied for HSIP project funding. This one wasn't actually in our county road safety plan because the safety plan predated the turnback of the state highway to the county. But we were successful in a $500,000 HSIP award. And we also applied for local road improvement program funds in 2023 and were awarded $735,000 of state funds for the project. And then during project development, staff noted a HSIP funding shortfall of the federally eligible items and state aid, MnDOT state aid shout out to Willie, our district state aid engineer, was able to locate some extra funds. And I believe that an extra 230,000 were diverted into this project. So about 1.4 million or so in state and federal grant dollars. Again, we went through the federal process to deliver the project. It was authorized, and we had advertised the project and opened bids again on March 5th. Again, 3 bids were received. This time Nielsen Blacktopping submitted the low responsive bid of $1,695,594.08, equating to 11% under the engineer's estimate of 1.9 million. Again, HSIP and LRIP dollars will be used, and then the remaining balance would be with Casal construction funds. That we would recommend Board of Contract 812605 to Nielsen Blacktopping.
I would look for a motion in a second and then discussion.
I'll make that motion. Second by Crosby.
Motion by Commissioner Milbrath, second by Commissioner Krause. Any questions or comments for our engineer?
Is there any, because Nielsen's doing the other road, the other shouldering. No, this one, and then Crane Creek's doing the other one. Is there, you can schedule that so they're not running into each other?
Hopefully, yeah. Yes, I mean, the two touch at one spot, but otherwise are independent.
Okay.
I had hoped, I mean, just to kind of build off of your question, I had hoped to contractually tie these two projects, but I waited too late in the game, and the red tape hurdles at the federal level would have delayed the delivery of the project and bidding. Okay, so stuck with individual projects. But either way, we got really good prices, and yeah, we'll be able to work through the construction schedule for sure. And I should just note, I will be back, assuming this gets all yes votes or enough of them anyways, with a grant agreement from the state for the LRIP funds at a later board meeting.
Any other comments? Regardless of whether we could tie the projects together or not, these are great projects, largely funded from dollars outside our county that really improve our county road system. Thank you for all the work that goes into that. All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. You're done. Finally, contract 812607 Fairgrounds Mill and Overlay.
Thank you. This is a building on the project completed a couple years ago where we overlaid the southern portion of the fairgrounds. The northern, I guess the midway and then the northern part was identified for pavement rehab this year, and so budgeted in our Road Bridge 2026 program. We prepared plans for this one and directly solicited local contractors, and WW Blacktopping submitted the low responsive bid of 5 bids received, and their bid was $75,566.20, well under our engineer document of $121,000. And just in correspondence with them, they are excited for the project and we're looking forward to the project. So it's a very good number, but one they are comfortable with. And also with talking with them, they do intend to complete the work in May, so well in advance of the fair, weather permitting. Like I said, that was budgeted for 2026, and staff would recommend award of contract 812607 to WW Blacktopping, 3 separate paving contractors this year.
All right. I would look for a motion in a second before we have discussion.
So moved by Crosby.
Second, or
Motion by Commissioner Krause, second by Commissioner Hargan. Discussion or questions?
Sure, 2 questions. With our oil prices going up, is that gonna affect that price? Are they locked in as that? That's what it's gonna be. My other question is, on the northern half that's gonna be done, are we pulling up that cement or the old fuel station used to be over the back there.
I believe that's gone.
Thanks.
That was all removed during the completed there. That'll get repaved, look much nicer. That was all just patched in.
Other questions or comments? All right. Hearing no further comments or questions, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, they're done.
Can I
You certainly may.
transportation question before we move on
You
to
certainly may.
the building? Most of our bids that have come, it's a twofold question. Most of our bids have come in under estimates, so we've had good competitive bids. I know 1 year we moved the project forward because we were getting good bids under budget. Is there a point where we can get maybe another project done and timing? What I'm thinking is that bridge on 54, where are we at there?
Thank you for the question. Good one. Just want to remind you of the other work we have awarded, Casada 6 and County Road 15 through Cisco. And then the two gentlemen that left, I mean, that makes up my entire engineering department right now. So staff is limited to continue to add more work. But the other part of your question is 37008 on County Road 54. We are working on, with our consultant to get those plans developed and, really the issue there beyond staffing will be state bridge bond funds. And if the legislature approves any this year, currently that well is dry. And it is $1 million bridge on the local system, so not eligible for county state aid highway construction dollars. So we're really reliant upon the state bridge dollars for that structure.
And we won't know that until legislation is over.
And then if it follows the same path as last year where they did bond for some dollars and bridge bond funds, specifically those dollars became available in August. So it would be similar to 6, all that if it all goes really well. And we get on the waiting list if there's enough dollars to fund the bridges above us on the waiting list, it would potentially be a fall construction again for that structure.
Okay.
We may have to look at utilizing a consultant depending on how the rest of our season goes for to help us out with construction inspections.
The oversight.
Just depends on how the paving all works out. We were having a nice spring until Sunday.
Good.
But we really, I mean, it's $1 million bridge, so we really.
Right, and that's all local money if we went ahead with it. It's not.
Right.
A
And,
lot of these savings have been on Casada, right? So
and that structure unfortunately isn't on our local option sales tax project list. We could add it, which would require public hearing and that sort of thing. But, really open the bridge bond funds to pay for that structure.
okay.
Thanks for clarifying that. Anything else
Yeah.
on roads for Jim before we move on to public works and solid waste stuff? Not seeing anything. Let's move on to item E, architectural engineering services agreement, reuse building.
Thank you. So, just a refresher, the county was awarded a Minnesota Pollution Control Agency grant to construct a reuse building out at solid waste. That grant has been executed and everything is moving along. So we're now able to advance the project and seek reimbursement for expenditures. And kind of the first thing we need to do is get a civil architectural firm on board. I solicited 3 firms from the area, and Waseca was the only firm to respond with a proposal. And they submitted a proposal for a fee of $48,000 to deliver a bid package for that structure, which closely aligns with what I had in the grant application and budget report. And just a reminder, the grant would pay for 75% of any reimbursable expense, and county has a 25% local match. So I think that works out, their $48,000 to use $36,000 that is eligible for the grant, and $12,000 would be a local cost. Staff recommends approval and agreement with Waseca to this project.
All right, thank you, Jim. We would be looking for a motion in a second and then some discussion.
So move Harder.
Second, Milbrook.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Milbrook. Discussion. If there is any. We're giving Waseca a lot of business these days, which is okay. They have been very responsive and responsible. We've had really good relationships there, and so that's great.
Yeah. Just a comment, you look at that 48,000 and then you look at all that goes into it here.
Yeah.
It isn't a big dollar deal for them either. By the time they use staff to come and oversee the site work and stuff. So I thought it was a fairly decent bit. So
That was my impression as well. This is a really small project for them, but I think their willingness, because of our relationship and they're doing other things for us, is helpful, but they also do a super job. So, all right. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for all the work. That's already happening. All the stuff is gonna happen this time. Lots and lots of stuff. Next, on to item F, resolution 2026-14, authorization to conduct off-site gambling.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Waseca Hockey Association has requested authorization to do off-site gambling at Waseca Lakeside Club on April 18th, 2026. They've completed all of the proper forms and meet the criteria. There's no fee associated with this. They just need board approval. So requesting adoption of resolution 2026-14.
All right. And that resolution was in our packet. And it looks for a motion in a second and then discussion.
Make that motion.
Thank you.
Second by Crowley.
Motion by Commissioner Milbrook, second by Commissioner Krause. Any discussion or questions? Yes, sir.
how many are they allowed in your offsite? 7 or 9?
Something like that. I was going to say 9 or 10, probably 9. I'd have to look. Yeah, the state does keep track of that.
You keep track of that, or
The state.
the state does? Got it. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. And then resolution 2026-15, authorization to conduct outside gambling.
Okay, same situation. The Hockey Association looking to conduct gambling at the Waseca Lakeside Club again. This time they are looking at September 13th and 14th. And same situation with the paperwork and the no fees and so forth. The resolution is almost identical, just a change of dates. So number 2016-15 and requesting approval.
All right.
I would move approval of 2026.
All right, motion by Commissioner Christopherson, second by Commissioner Hargit. Any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, just stands for Commissioner Hargit, Minnesota Gambling Control Board authorizes up to 12 events per calendar year, not to exceed 3 days per event.
Thank you.
Thanks for making sure we got all the information. All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you so much. The Hockey Association can go gambling. All right. Next, we will move on to number 6, administration and the administration update. Michael, you're up.
Thanks, Madam Chair. First of all, gentlemen, thank you for your staff and the work and sheriff and not enjoying the maybe seclusion that the rest of us had on Sunday, staying inside until I had to go outside and spend 3 hours trying to get out of my own driveway. But still better result than the rest of the staff experience. So thank you for the continued vigilance there and making sure everything is safe and clean for the rest of us trying to get to where we need to get to. Just talking through a few things. We have 2 commissioners that are headed up to the Capitol tomorrow morning. Commissioner Malter, Commissioner Milbreath, to testify with Senate Tax Committee and Senate File 40-40. It's the same resolutions. Senate File 4049, which is authorization of local option sales tax. So do a great job there. Senator Jasinski carrying that bill in authorship, and we'll do the introduction on behalf of Waseca County. So great opportunity to get in front of the Senate Tax Committee. That this is what we're looking towards, hoping to see that same thing for House File 3813 on the House side of things in the not too distant future. And as I forewarned a few weeks ago, it'll just, when the phone rings, we have to go, and that's what we'll experience, I'm sure, when that happens. So thank you to the willingness there to represent the county in yet another very unique capacity up at the Capitol tomorrow. So looking forward to tagging along and hearing that. Just to offer a bit of a library update quickly, that's not something we have forgotten about. Joe Martin, Eastern County, and I continue to have several conversations about it. The next stage in that conversation is Thursday afternoon when we're meeting with Stacy, our library director, and Stacy from Traverse to Sioux to just get some additional insight in operations. There's a little bit of conversation happening around TDS recently that we may have seen or heard from other counties and other commissioners. So there are other counties having the same conversations we are having as it pertains to the TDS piece. That is by no means any kind of indictment on TDS. That is the need for understanding. And that's really what our conversation is on Thursday. It's just trying to understand how the dollars all flow, how TDS supports and provides services to Waseca County and LeSueur counties. And we're just seeing a little bit more of that larger conversation across our library, our regional library service that TDS manages in those 9 counties in Minnesota. So I'll get you an update on that in the not too distant future. That will very much factor into our budget setting conversation, which we're almost to again for 2027. At the beginning of May, we'll kick that process off yet again and talk about what next year's operation looks like. And we'll want to have some good understanding of what libraries look like in the 2027 budget setting process. There's still a lot more work to do there. There's a bit of legislation, happening right now. Some more interesting than others. A lot of what I would say kind of wasted bills in terms of there's a lot of bills being introduced that no one assumes will really go anywhere. So there's kind of the political saber rattlings happening on both sides of the aisle. But there's also some that are interesting that we want to pay attention to that may or may not get traction to. One in particular that we have been looking for in terms of clarification is Senate File 4373, which adds clarification on how para is treated under paid family leave provisions. That has been an ongoing question since paid family leave was first introduced. So that bill would give some clarification on what is or is not para eligible dollars or retirement eligible dollars as it pertains to paid family. And in this particular draft, it would exclude from para's recognition of salary any payments an employee receives from the Minnesota paid leave insurance account retroactive to January 1st. Some individuals in our counties were looking for this specific language as, I guess I'll say, an incentive to return to work, particularly for public employees. So in some ways, it's a bit of a pushback of what paid family leave seeks to do. It doesn't take away from the program. It simply says that if you utilize this program para is not going to recognize those salary dollars earned through that insurance program as para eligible. So what does that mean? It means it extends your calculated retirement date as far as your para eligible benefits would be. So interesting one there that we will pay attention to as we move forward.
Question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure.
And basically that's a pushback because public employees tend to have pretty robust benefits for leave, paid and unpaid already.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay.
That's certainly played into it.
Just want to make sure I was understanding which levers were being pulled here.
Yes, absolutely. That was a large part of the narrative even before the law was implemented. That, hey, we don't need this. We have this covered. So yeah, you're 100% right in that sense that it's a bit of a pushback and specific to the para piece. Why we're not extending that to all employees across the state. It's exactly right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bonding bill. I mean, that's taken a lot of the attention, and it should, but still a lot of things to iron out as it pertains to bonding bill. You know, the governor's recommendation came in at $970 million. Both the state and the House and both parties therein have recommended something closer to $1.2 billion. Interestingly enough, we have a little bit more than $3 billion of local jurisdiction requests that are currently submitted. That $1.2 billion is now all geared towards local requests as well. But with a highly competitive field right now, we have been partnering in terms of support with the city of Waseca and will continue to do so. And not unique to the city of Waseca, there's more than $1 billion of requests just for water and sewer infrastructure right now. As of yesterday, 141 different cities vying for local infrastructure projects. So a third of the total request just water. And some of the logic behind there, other than it's Minnesota and it's cold and we have to dig further and deeper to avoid things freezing, the cost, like we talked about earlier, material costs rose by 36.7% over the last 10 years just for those water main components. And construction costs rose by 43% over the last 10 years. So from 2015 to 2025, there's a significant implication on both the cost of the materials and the cost of installing those materials. Jim mentioned local road and bridge program a little bit earlier, I think, in terms of the hope for those funds being denoted within the bonding package. As of now, we don't see them, at least in that name, either LRIP or LBRG. No, that wasn't right, but close enough. Last year, by comparison, we had about $50 million and $30 million respectively in those two. There is some allusion to a surface improvement program. Nobody knows what that is or what that means as of this point, and just denoted in transportation as far as the governor's recommendation, it really just called out the trunk highway bonds as of now, and that's where it stopped for the $50 million threshold there. So that's something we obviously want to pay attention to. You did a great job in conveying the need of that to the legislators when we were out there a couple of weeks ago in St. Paul. And that continues to be a huge means of funding for our townships, especially for local road improvement program. In some ways, similar, synergistic to the water and sewer infrastructure programs. A lot of examples of cities that are 1,000 people or fewer that are facing 8-digit over $10 million price tags on some of these projects that it's like, there's literally no way for us to fund this outside of some kind of state appropriation or allocation. So one of the bill I was going to bring up was House File 3396. Commissioner Milbreath was kind enough to forward on a better presentation than I had. So I'm just going to pull that up. This is a joint effort on behalf of LMC, MICA, and AMC, which calls out House File 3396 in support, I should say. It calls out, sounds negative, it doesn't. It supports House File 3396 in the establishment of a property tax force This is something I was a part of about 3 years ago, just from AMC. We met one time and then never got back together as we quickly understood this is complicated and happens a little bit differently in all places. But really what it seeks to do is put together a task force because of the significant levy increases we saw statewide. Of course, specifically across the state, yes, we're more introspective to counties, municipals and cities as well. As it's just a consistent trend that HR1, sure, relevant example, state budgetary pressures, yes, absolutely relevant example, but it really comes down to the timeless conversation of mandated services versus if you keep reducing the revenues for us to do the job, you have to reduce the job. So we thus far have not seen any reduction in mandates, just reductions in revenues. And if both state and federal government require counties to fulfill these services, then the clear implication is that we need some compensation that isn't just on the backs of property tax payers to do so. They tie the relationship to value, which makes sense. There is an awful lot of misperception still about how valuation works at the county level or doesn't work at the county level. What authority we have to change values. There's a lot of perception still that, well, you just kind of artificially manipulate value to meet whatever the property tax need is of the day. And obviously that is not true, nor is it even possible, let alone legal to do so. It's simply not possible to do so because of how that is mandated and treated by law and state. So it's an interesting handout, just talking about some of their other budgetary pressures that are being faced and how Waseca County compares as well. Looking at the pressures that we see at the state side, of course, the fiscal cliff that we've been anticipating and fiscal pressures as it results, as it pertains to human services, I should say. This is a significant one in flat or reduced levels of aid. We actually saw a small decrease in our own county program aid for 2026 program compared to 2025. Not anticipated that that's increasing for next year. So again, the aids that are established are being picked apart to try to meet a budget narrative at the state level. So we're being hit disproportionately from multiple angles at both state and federal levels. County revenue sources, and some of this is county, some of this is state. 85% is significant for Waseca County. Our property tax compared to budget is about 48.5%. So of our total budgetary program, 48.5% comes from property tax levy. That's inclusive of library services and everything else that would have been added for 2026. So significantly smaller than that 85% threshold there. But then also looking at the state in terms of, where all the state's revenue is coming from and trying to lay out the disproportionality of the property tax implications there. So a joint effort ultimately from 3 different organizations, LMC, AMC, and MICA, to just continue to create the narrative and remind of the narrative and push the narrative that counties and the constituents therein are being disproportionately affected as a result of the legislation that is being passed. And there seemingly is no plan from a state or federal level to address that. So as budgetary conversations are happening at the state and federal level, there is no consideration for the budgetary conversations that have to happen as a result at the local jurisdictional level. And that's where this presentation tries to get a more graphical understanding of, okay, legislators, here is the result of that bill you just passed. Here is the result of not having a cogent fiscal note that accompanies a bill that's passed. When we just, on the surface level, say, yeah, this language makes sense or seemingly makes sense, and it significantly impacts what local counties and cities have to do as a result. County Program A, they just touched on that one. Not a real pleasant look. So, and I can send this to you as well. Maybe Commissioner McGrath already did actually, but just in terms of which mandates to get rid of. You know, this is kind of an interesting little case study to go through. We often talk about mandatory versus discretionary spending. It's really hard to make a direct tie to statute and law and say what is required statutorily versus not, what is practical versus not. We know courts is a huge part of that conversation, always will be. When that changed to a state entity many years ago, still reside within the county. County still supports all the costs, supports all the spaces, pays for those services. The district court certainly pays for some of the equipment and the upgrades and what's happening there. But for all intents and purposes, the county shoulders a lot of that bill. That is something that several counties are pushing primarily as their narrative, focusing solely on the district court costs and exclusivity, just because it's significant. So how this is being framed and what you'll continue to hear moving forward is somewhat of an a la carte menu that counties and cities are pushing back with to say, fine, we'll take your budget, tell us which we get to quit, essentially. You get to pick, state, which services get cut, because if the money gets cut, the services get cut. That is the little bit more forceful dialogue, you can say it that way, in terms of pushing back. Like, if the money goes away, these programs go away. We can't continue to extend these costs locally. So if you're going to make decisions at a higher level, then here's the impact of the decision-making process. So you're going to see a lot more pointed narrative to this throughout the rest of this legislative session and the next biennium, the rest of this biennium and the next biennium. This is all stuff you've heard of a lot: SNAP, HR1 applications, error rate, access, METs, all of our green screens that we have to work with. So really interesting analysis. We'll make sure you have that as well.
Came out of general gov.
Yes, it's just, actually, they testified. That was Thursday when I went to, they testified.
Awesome. Thank you.
So HF 3396 doesn't have a companion yet. It's got several authors on the House side of things. I'm pretty certain it's going to pick up a companion. And there's not a lot of concern really to push back against a task force being created, but it'll be interesting to track this one over the next 2 years, because, well, it'll be interesting to see where this task force comes.
I think particularly in light of that there are states that are very seriously moving toward eliminating property taxes altogether.
Yeah.
And it affects all of this. And then what about school districts and how do they get funded? And there's just a lot of moving parts. And then where do you get that money from? Sales tax? I don't know.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, the two biggest catalysts in this have been Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about the economies of scale and tax, it's usually referred to as the big three, which is your individual income tax, your sales tax, and your property tax.
Mm-hmm.
And there always seems to be a relationship between the three. If one goes down, the other go up as a result. Florida and Texas don't have an individual income tax. So that is where it gets interesting, and the analysis is done in some specific Florida counties to say, okay, if we eliminate property tax, what's the impact to sales tax? And if you just do a direct correlation, it increases sales tax to like 40% or something like that. So does that work as in a vacuum? No. So there would have to be some sort of hybridized approach to get there. But yeah, it's a relevant talking point, and it's becoming a more relevant talking point because this isn't an isolated thing. This is a national thing.
Mm-hmm.
In Minnesota, we just happen to have historic property tax increases across the state, and I didn't say historic budgetary increases. I said historic property tax increases. Our program actually got smaller. Our budget decreased going into 2026, and the levy went up because based on that presentation you just saw, the mandates don't go down, the revenues go down. So at some point, there has to be that pendulum swing the other direction to say, no, if the budget goes down, services go down, the levy goes down as a result.
And in the human service area, which is, of course, locally driving a lot of this with the state of Minnesota, that's Health and Human Services Policy Committee is, what do we not do then? Because these are, for the most part, services that help people live lives that meet basic needs. And so, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, you hear this a lot, especially with things like Minnesota African American Family Preservation and Child Welfare Disproportionality Act. There's just counties just like, we're just not doing this. It's like, we do as much as we can in the world of active efforts right now. We think we do a good job. Sorry, not sorry. It's just, there's no capacity to do it.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's my feeling. This whole thing is that if we're meeting the matrix of what, or the end goals that they want to come out of this act, if we're meeting that, we should just ignore it until they do something about it. And there's nothing in place at the state level yet that says you gotta meet this, or you gotta do this, or this is gonna happen.
Measurements.
There's
or
no measurements,
no
right?
measurements and no punitive.
Reprimand for not
Yes.
doing it.
Okay.
So to me, you continue to do the best job you can with how we're doing it now until they push us into it.
Well, and it's interesting because some places are already doing much of this work, but not calling it the same thing.
Right.
Part of the big problem with this is they didn't even have definitions for us about what these words meant. And there is no training in place, and we're supposed to implement this at the first of the year. I think most of the definition list has just kind of gotten done, but it hasn't gone through the process of acceptance yet. And there is no training for what, I don't know how many thousands of workers in the counties across the state that are doing this work on behalf of the state, because this is state work that counties are responsible for. And so how do you do work that you haven't been trained for and you barely have definitions for?
We're still in rulemaking and discovery, and it's supposed to be implemented in a few months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy for a government system.
and I was in a Gerberba meeting on Friday that, at the beginning of the meeting, you hear it's virtual, so I was hearing all side conversations. And one county had hired human services, 3 or 4, getting ready for this act. And I'm thinking, why would you do that? I'm thinking, why would you do that if it's this far out and nothing has been put in place to police it?
Well, not even to police it, but even to, you don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't understand why you would already be increasing
It's
staff.
going to take that one to teach them to use the green screen.
So,
And in your own priority list, of course, that's why we focused on clear definitions and guidance, centralized administrative functions, because you're going to have every county approaching this a little differently. And that's just never good legislation when you have open-ended, and this is a product of 2023. You can say whatever you want about 2023, but there were a lot of things that came out of 2023 that would just kind of tilt our head a little bit.
They were philosophical, they were not thoroughly vetted. They were very advocacy based.
So, I mean, it's there, it's in law, which is why we just say, please give us some actual guidance for how this is supposed to work, because we don't have any. There's a few of those, but a Parabel, as I mentioned earlier, would be at least a small win. Actually telling counties, here's how you treat this, from religious counties. Anything else for me?
I don't believe so at this point. We'll see what questions we have when we get commissioner reports going here. Maybe some
Sure.
will come up.
You do have an HR thing.
Yes, oh, yes, we do.
So a couple positions. Trying to backfill Jim's engineering department as he alluded to earlier. So hoping to get a good crop of candidates out of here. Thank you for those that are able to stop by and wish Mommy a farewell last week. Last Wednesday was her last day with us. So apart from that, nobody in the room, but you have your 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, we do want to call out Christopher Hanton, our veteran service officer, for one of those 0 or 5 awards, 10 years with the county, and doing good work.
Tina did email you a community development update. It's in your box. You can find this later.
Yes. All right, then let's look at commissioner reports if we could. As long as we do them kind of every week, if we can, we don't get too far behind. Commissioner Milroth, I see you got your calendar out. Could you begin us, please?
March 3rd, we had a work session and board meeting. On that day, on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I went to the AMC conference. Saturday 7th, I had coffee with the commissioner. And Monday the 9th, I had NVAC policy, child policy meeting. The 10th, I had tourism meeting. On the 11th, I met with the chair and Michael. On the 13th, I met up with Representative Sexton for what they call a coffee with representative, I think it is. And I had coffee with the commissioner on the 14th. Last night I had MVSA Joint Powers Labor Meeting and MVAC Board Meeting, full board meeting. And it brings us today, I have a board meeting, a neighborhood service center meeting this afternoon. I met with the sheriff earlier this morning. Brings me on that stuff.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Milroth? If not, Commissioner Krause, how are you?
Alrighty, Tuesday the 3rd was our work session board meeting. Went up to AMC. Wednesday the 4th and the 5th, AMC, and then 5th in the evening, planning commission at 7 p.m. The 9th, I did go down to the Richland City Council meeting down there. An interesting meeting on internet provider. The 10th was our township meetings. The 11th was hiring in the morning. 12th, I was at spent a meeting with Green Team over in Mankato at Pioneer Bank. Then that evening was SWCD, but I did not make that. Commissioner Walter was there. And the 16th extension yesterday afternoon, but that was postponed because Christie couldn't make it due to the roads. And then today, the ISG in Mankato this afternoon with Green Team.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Getting right into that with the Green Team.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for representing us there. Appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a lot to that.
Don't you love learning?
I sat with Mr. Haley. He's the operation manager at CHS.
Oh,
Mankato.
sure.
So he's on the Green Team board, but yeah. So
Say about the movers and shakers.
a lot going on there with Sam Ziegler retiring. And then that'll be just guesstimating. It looks like, it's gonna take quite a few months to get somebody else in there to take this spot. So, I think he's been there just right about 11 years. So,
Thanks for all that work.
yeah.
Can Can you elaborate a little bit? You said you were at the Richland City Council on the provider for the town.
The internet provider, there was an internet provider that wanted to renew his contract with the city. Okay, and it was an interesting conversation that went on between the city and the internet provider.
Was that Radio Link?
Yes,
Okay.
That's what I was assuming.
There you go.
so,
Was any decisions made?
well, they only had 4 council members there.
They wanted to table it till next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
There we go. So
there, I mean, you can watch it on, video if you like.
we learn so much by watching videos these days. Thank you so much, Commissioner Christopherson.
Hey, is there, I did not make it to Mommy's farewell. Is there any way of getting a personal contact where I can give her a message?
Yeah.
Is there an email or phone number?
Yeah,
I would like to say something to her. I felt that I missed it.
It was pretty informal. It wasn't a big, she didn't want,
Big to do.
she didn't want a big to do.
I'd still like to
So
wish her well. March 3rd, when we went up to legislative visits, I had MRC that night at 5:00. And then the next day we had the legislative visits. 9th. We were going to have transition team get together on our establishing an org chart for Mend Prairie's 2-county transition. That got canceled. We weren't quite ready for it. And so then we did meet on the 12th. And then we'll be meeting again tomorrow. Also on the 9th, I went to the Otisco Township board meeting, preparing for annual meetings because I can't get to all 6 of them on the same day. So then on the 10th, I did go to Freedom, Alton, and Byron. Annual meetings or annual meeting. Biggest topics were local option sales tax that we're working on, human services, of course, pressures in human services, and then roads. And I bragged about our highway engineer to everybody. Getting money for shouldering and it goes after those safety money dollars and hopefully making our roads safer. So I think it really went well. All my meetings so far, I've got 2 left to go to, but went real well. So the 12th, then we had the transition team starting talks on how we organize our 2-county human services. 13th was Kaverba. That's just virtual, it was off the window, so I just did it virtually. Over the weekend, I talked to Mitch from Sparrow because we're trying to work on this fixing a DHS, what we consider a mix up on a rebasing.
Yes.
I've talked to you guys before about that. And so I had met with Jasinski and Sexton and Mitch to let them know of our issue. And Jasinski did follow through. Bryce is his aide or one of his aides. Really dug into it and he organized the bill. But at the same time, this Jeannie Palin, our lobbyist up there, was introducing a bill also, so now I emailed Jazinski on Sunday, and they have gotten together to amend so there's one bill, because the one bill had already gotten a hearing time of today. And so we put the two together, and Jazinski was fine with that. Senator Utke,
Yes, I know the name.
yeah, that's the other one on the bill, so. Hopefully that goes well today, and get something moving there. And then today, we met with the sheriff this morning ahead, and we'll have Min Prairie Joint Public Court this afternoon.
Madam Chair, question on Sparrow. They have on-call staff yet, don't they?
Yeah,
And are they doing all right? I know some of their budget got cut too. Are they keeping up with everything?
you mean as far as just,
Mobile crisis.
Yeah,
or crisis within like, State Harbor and stuff too, on call staff there.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they do have on-call staff. I know that, like Amy is the director in that department and she has to take on-call time also. She's on call quite often, so I know, they're having to share it amongst the upper management also.
My other question for you, now that I think the doctor's in that no longer works there. And they're contracting out for different psychologists. Are they gonna be able, individuals, the question was asked to me, are individuals gonna be bounced around for different psychologists? Or are they gonna be able to keep the same one every time they call?
Yeah, and that's a good, I don't know if that was talked about. I missed the last meeting. I think you were there.
Yeah, I was there, but I don't think we even talked about it.
And that was one concern.
I know in this transition, they knew that there would be probably some of that. But I'm hoping that once they get it established and get somebody hired more permanent. But that's a good question. I'll have to ask that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hargit.
Thank you, Claire. The third, we had a work session of our regular board meeting. And the fourth and fifth, we're up at AMC. Met with the legislators. I had my committee assignment for public safety. Always interesting. Fair board meeting on the 9th. In the evening, on the 10th in the evening, we had the Woodville annual meeting, Woodville Township annual meeting. On the 11th, 7 a.m. was Waseca Lakes Association. 8 a.m. was Public Works meeting. 6 p.m. on the 11th was the Waseca County Historical Society. The 12th, I met again with the gal from the Historical Society and I had some questions for Tina at P&Z. And that pretty much brings us to today.
Any questions for Commissioner Hargit? Thank you.
Can I add?
Yeah.
One thing with legislative visits on, you guys are all aware of Chris Howard's concern about the Waseca changes that were done at the legislative level.
Yes.
There is now there is some legislation going on to correct that, but then Bowser has also, there's been 2 watersheds up in Minnesota, the Red River Watershed and the Minnesota Watershed Association, that is proposing language change in the rule making that Bowser does
Okay,
to correct that, make an exemption for only water, not public water, but county ditches.
county ditches.
Yeah.
Okay,
And if the language that they brought forward, Bowser is willing to accept, Chris feels like that would alleviate the concerns.
awesome.
Yeah,
So cool.
that sounds positive.
Thanks to Chris for being on top of that.
Yeah.
We met on the 3rd, we had a work session, we had a board meeting. I got in contact with Tina about a solar project siting when I got a call from a constituent on, and headed up to AMC and got a chance to sit in on the Minnesota Rural Counties. And appreciated that we had commissioners that are representing us on the board. But I listened in for my own benefit. On the 4th, we did legislative visits, and I want to thank everybody for being there, and taking part in those presentations, sharing the floor with our neighboring counties in some cases, but continuing to build relationships and make sure our legislators know what matters here in Waseca County. On the 5th, we had the board meeting in the morning of the AMC big session in the morning, gave away some great awards to a scholarship to a young lady from Dakota County, and a couple of recognitions of 4-H clubs that have done particularly significant work in the last year. And I know we've got everybody busy with everything, but I know that some of our 4-Hers are doing similarly amazing work, and we should try to figure out how to get them recognized out there too, because it's just a matter of putting in an application. But they're doing some of the same wonderful work for their friends and neighbors. After the conference ended, I stayed around for a board of directors meeting, and we reviewed the conference and a number of things that are coming forward. It was good. On Friday, I worked on some shack stuff. Monday the 9th, we had the advisory committee for the Waseca Community Health Board. So this is not the board itself, which is made up of us 10 commissioners, but this is the advisory committee that brings community input to that process. So we had a dentist there and nursing folks and folks from Mayo, and it allowed our community health board staff, the staff from both health departments, to have the necessary partnership and interaction with local representatives of that understand the ecosystem of medical care as opposed to preventive care, as opposed to folks who need care from social services, and get some perspective and provide some information to the community. Then had my first meeting with AMC Research and Member Services Committee. That was a virtual meeting. That's a new committee. They combined a couple committees, and interesting work they're being done on reorganizing how AMC provides counties across the state with information, what information we need to be collecting and thinking about, and how we use resources at AMC and throughout the counties to make sure that counties get what they need from the organization for training, for across the board. So if you have thoughts that you are interested in making sure that AMC does for us, you have to channel that up move that up the channel for you. Then I had the library board at the Waterville Public Library, the old library, because the library is still in the original building. We did go over, I and another board member from Waseca County did go over and look at the new building because she hadn't seen it yet. And then we went to the library board meeting and did regular business, and Stacy and the board is anxious to move along and figure out what the next rendition is going to look like, because of course she too, whenever you have institutional change, worries about staff stability and making sure that people know that they are valued and that they have a place in the organization and to anticipate change so she can ready staff for that change. Then I went to the city of Janesville and had a chance to make a few comments there about what was going on at the county and listen to what the city of Janesville was working on. A lot of it was around their summer program of they're going to have a farmer's market every week and going to have Songs in the Park every other week in Janesville. Songs in the Park has grown. They put up a nice little band shell. They bring local music acts in, and they have food trucks and fun thing. Just real fun. I run down there in the golf cart and hang out and eat somebody else's cooking, and the music is always great. And how they get 300-400 people pretty easy, all in Veterans Memorial Park there right along. And of course, there's playground equipment there, and there's the pickleball courts, and so the kids run around and play, and it really is a really fun community event. And they're doing a great job of making it a little more regular and frequent, and some of it depends on the weather, of course. Tuesday was Township Day, and I did make it to all my townships. Iosco and Blooming Grove are only half an hour apart, so I start in Iosco and say, ask your questions fast, and then I race over to Blooming Grove, and they take me whenever they get me, and apparently my timing was good this year. Local option sales tax, at all three of those meetings, local option sales tax, and that request was, everybody wanted to know more about it, and by and large, the township supervisors were pretty positive about seeking that form of financing for the Justice Center. They were, and that was not me giving a sales pitch. That was me just saying, this is how it works. And residents get a chance then to pick whether they want to do it this way. And they were favoring that. So I said, this is going to, if we get this through the legislature, then the heavy lift is going to be to make sure that our residents understand what we are asking and how it works and why we're asking, so that they can make an informed decision about whether local option sales tax will be a good way to pay the bonds for the Justice Center. So good conversations there.
Yeah, you don't get, when I first bring it up, I think everybody goes,
Yeah.
another tax.
Yeah.
But then when you explain it to them and you say, once it's through the legislator, it'll come to you guys.
Yeah, you get to
decide.
pick.
But this is, and then you say, this is why we're asking it this way.
Yes.
Then it changes the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I did listen, and I appreciate the video you sent yesterday of the Senate Tax Committee, and I did watch the whole meeting while I did some other things in the office. And really the reason that cities and counties go to make that request is because it's not just their property taxpayers that use those services, that there is a regional component to that, where people come from other places to where you are and use those services. And we have that true with our district court. We certainly have it true with our license bureau. Holy moly, people come here because they know they're going to get friendly small town service in a personal way, and somebody's going to explain to them what has to happen. We know the cooperation that happens with our public safety officers and how we work across county lines and with our cities. And so we're going to go make the pitch tomorrow. On the 11th, I had a check-in to get ready for a full shack meeting, and that was MDH staff is always awesome about that. Then I came in and met with Michael and Commissioner Milbroth on some issues, and then I had a chance to meet with Judge Haynes and our county attorney in the afternoon and talk over some issues, and I appreciated their time to get a fuller understanding and make sure we're on the same page. the 12th, I was at the department head meeting here in the East Annex. Appreciated the work that happens between the departments and how everybody works to try to make sure we don't get too siloed. Shack meeting after that, a virtual one. Thursday or Friday, I drove over to Harmony. And I think you all, well, I know you all have met Benya Kraus, who is the CEO at Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. She's become a friend. Well, she's got a new baby in it, so I got to go over and snuggle baby. There's nothing better than that. What a cute little guy. Holy moly, that was fun. It always lowers my blood pressure, snuggling baby. Just like everybody else on Sunday, I watched it snow. And yesterday I had another pre-check-in for an executive committee meeting for Shack. Had some back and forth with Michael about getting ready for this meeting tomorrow. Today we're here for this meeting. I've got finance committee meeting at 1:45 for Mid Prairie and then off to Mid Prairie. So that's where we're at. Any questions or suggestions? Always willing to take advice. All right.
So
Yes.
one question as far as the legislature, tomorrow is the hearing, right? And that's why you guys are going up
Just the Senate here.
Senate here.
Yes.
Um,
So that's the first step, is to get it heard and laid over in the Senate. And then it needs to show up on the House side as well.
so there'll be a hearing there then also.
We are,
Hopeful.
we are hopeful.
And the reason I'm asking is I'm thinking about this Sparrow bill also. So right now, as far as I know, it's just a Senate bill.
Sure.
So if that hearing goes well today, then we need to get a companion bill on the House side. And it can be that you can take that bill, as long as you can get a representative to sponsor it, it can be that exact bill, right? Basically.
Very, very close, yes. Sometimes they just call it a little different language in the House versus Senate side, but yeah, for all intents and purposes, it's a copy and paste.
Okay.
The closer it is in language, except for the necessities of each chamber, the better it is, because then
There's no.
there's no reconciling it.
Right. Okay.
I have that right, don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see amendments proper all the time. Even in hearings, as bills are introduced for members. And there's always some level of back and forth. This is what the House version says versus this is what the Senate version says, but as close as they get, it makes everyone's life easier, certainly.
Right. Okay.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
At your annual township meetings, did any of the townships mention what their levy was going to be at?
Everybody set their budget. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
You remember? Lincoln was gonna be a no increase. I don't know what St. Mary's was.
Madam Chair, we have.
You know them all?
of those. No, we have all of those in our office. I have not read them, and I don't know them.
Oh.
We have them.
You have all the township budgets in your office.
We should have. They were supposed to all have them back last week, so.
yeah, the county has some responsibility to collect that information and also, I believe, to collect information that their meetings were properly posted and all of those kind of things. The county has some responsibility to partner with townships to make sure they are fulfilling state statute, not in a big brother way, but in a partner way.
You know, when we start talking about property tax reform or possibly eliminating property tax and going to a sales tax, that would really change the budgeting process because we don't know, depending on the economy, if we're basing our income off of sales tax, it's a wild card how much we'll collect that year.
Well, and you're making the assumption that counties would be able to do a sales tax And that's not necessarily the case in some of these places. They're talking about state sales tax. And then here county, this county gets this much, you figure it out.
It would still. Yeah, there's a lot of discussion that has to be done there yet on how it can be a set. If they're gonna do that, if they're gonna say, this is your amount, then they need to give that a year in advance so that we can budget accordingly.
It's hard to envision the property tax going away in totality. Good, but it's. Maybe I should say, at least in Minnesota, it's hard to imagine that going away.
Because it's complex.
It's so complex and. But that's also the reason why it's never had any kind of sweeping change or reform, just because there are so many domino effects with how complicated, at times unnecessarily complicated, the Minnesota property tax system is.
We like to customize it all.
Yeah.
But that's why in that presentation, they were showing all of the categories of revenue that the state has, including the state or the general tax or the sales tax portion, which is a significant portion of the state's revenue. So it's kind of just to start to create that narrative that if the pie doesn't get bigger, but the pieces within it change, how does that look? And where does it come from on both the state and the county level?
And then the predictive that the pie can't stay the same because inflation won't allow it. And then trying to get your crystal ball out to see what this change does out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Building a bicycle while you ride it. All right, anything else? If not, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Second Milbert.
Motion by Commissioner Crosby, second by Commissioner Milbert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Nobody wants to stay.